We did concentrate, but our group was a strong, wonderful bunch of kids. We did our own reading. We had our own art groups. We read the classics, and on the sly, we even listened to jazz music, which was not permitted. So we did manage to sneak in some of the nicer things in life. The fascinating thing about all this was, and we were all interested in politics, when Hindenburg died, Hitler took over and became really president and chancellor, the dictator of Germany. But the fascinating thing was he did not have a majority in the Reichstag. And the only way he could get it was with the help of the Centrum Party, which was the Catholic Party of Germany. Now, mind you, the last German chancellor, Democratic chancellor, was a Catholic. I think his name was by the name of Bruni. And yet, the Catholics supported Hitler, and the person most responsible for it was the papal nuncio of Berlin, who later became Pope Pius XII. He convinced the Catholic Party to join the Nazi Party, Hitler's party, and the Nationalist Party to form a majority and give him his dictatorship. If there ever was a wonderful book written about Pope Pius XII, it was by John Cornwell, the British writer who was supposed to write a biography of Pope Pius XII, but could not complete the biography. He had to write a critique. He had access to the archives at the Vatican, and when he saw what really went on behind the scenes, he says, I cannot write this man's biography. I have to write his critique. And it seems to this day there is quite a bit of controversy going on whether he should become a saint or not, Pope Pius XII. Apparently there is some restraint. Things got progressively worse, and our family decided, my father decided, well, we have to go, we have to leave. We can't stay here anymore. We have to get out. And his first thought, of course, was to go back to East Africa, where he spoke the language. Both my parents and my sister were fluent in Swahili. And his first thought to go back there and pick up where he left off in 1920, or 19 rather. And but he was discouraged by his old business associates because they were sure, just like Hitler was able to take over the Rhineland, militarize the demilitarized Rhineland, he will get the colonies back, which left us either go to Israel or to the United States. And fortunately, my father had some rich, very wealthy cousins in New York who were able to give my sister, who had just graduated from nursing school, her affidavit. And she got an affidavit, applied for her visa, got her number, her quota number. Now, even though it was under Roosevelt, it was very, very hard to get out of Germany. You had to have an affidavit, a quota number, and prove that you would not be a ward, well, become a ward of the state in case anything should happen. Of course, the affidavit took care of it for my sister, so she applied for a visa, and then she got to the consulate and was told, well, we can't give you a visa. You were not born, you're not German. She says, how is that possible? You were not born in Germany, you were born in Africa. Of course, we had to get in touch with the authorities in East Africa. Mind you, this was he was born in 1915. This was 36. It's 20 years later, and fortunately they got the records, and she got her African quota, which was quota number 1. So no one else has ever attempted. So it was disappointing to go through all this agony of getting a visa. But she finally got out, and I was the next to go in 1937. And there I was, a 16-year-old, getting my visa, and I was loaded down with cameras, Leica cameras, Contax cameras, all sorts of electronic equipment. Well, and that was the only money we could take out. You could not take any money out at all except $10. That's all we had on to get on board the ship. All I had was $10. And my cameras, of course, and my clothing. I should say this, though. My sister was able, my father made sure that she got her dowry out, that is, i.e. furniture and linen and all a young woman would need when she gets married. So they got all this out, and I got myself out and arrived in New York in December 1937. And like everybody else, tried to get it. I got a job immediately as a busboy in a hotel. But I lived by selling. I made a living by selling my cameras, which were selling in those days for $100 a piece. You have to bear in mind, of course, $100 in 1937 was much more money than it is today. A family could live on it for a month easily. And the next, of course, group to come were my parents, and we urged them to get out. My father had, quote unquote, sold his business, if you want to call it that. He really was forced to sell